Hey everybody, this is Matt Mayoko from NBC Sports Bay Area, just bringing you up to date on the happenings in 49er land on Wednesday, just a few days away from their Week 7 matchup, the 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Probably the marquee matchup in the NFL's regular season, obviously, because it's the two teams that played in the Super Bowl. So we'll break down the injury report, give you a Ricky Pearsall update, and then also some of the key elements in this game on this video. But first, I want to let you know that this is brought to you by Canyon Club Brewery, a restaurant and beer garden providing fresh beer, delicious bites, and a family-friendly atmosphere in Moraga, California. Now, that is right down the street from where I live. It's one of my go-to spots. I meet up with buddies there all the time, and I'm really excited because they're getting ready to open here in the next few weeks or soon anyway, a new location at the Danville Livery right off of 680. So it's conveniently located for me because after a day of covering the 49ers in Santa Clara, like I'm doing right now, I can just stop, make a little detour to Canyon Club at the Danville Livery whenever that opens. And I'm sure I will be a regular there as well. Okay, let's talk about Ricky Pearsall because he was a full participant in practice on Wednesday. He was designated for return off of the non-football injury list on Monday, which means they opened the practice window. And it remains to be seen what the 49ers plan for him is. I know Kyle Shanahan wants to see him practice a few times before they make a decision. They want to take kind of a slow ramp up. At least that's the thought, a slower ramp up with him. Remember, it was less than 8 weeks ago that he was shot in that armed robbery attempt where the bullet passed through his chest area and out his armpit. And so now that he's got range of motion back, he feels like he's ready to go. And the 49ers will ultimately determine just when it is he's able to get back on the field. But there's a kind of a news update for the 49ers that could make it more possible that Pearsall's return, like there's an opening for him in that 49ers offense. Of course, they're not going to rush him back if they feel like he's not ready. But Jauan Jennings did not practice on Wednesday due to a hip injury. And that's something that came to light for the team the day after their Thursday game against the Seattle Seahawks. So Jauan Jennings, the 49ers number 3 receiver, Ricky Pearsall in a perfect world would be the number 4 receiver behind Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and Jauan Jennings. So we shall see if Pearsall is able to get cleared fully to go play, if Kyle Shanahan and the coaching staff determine that he's okay to go play. And when you think about it, he is one of the reasons, or he is, this game coming up is the reason that the 49ers selected him at the end of the first round, number 31 overall. 49ers did have some difficulty getting open against the Chiefs man coverage. And so their answer to that was to select the receiver that they felt at that point in the draft was the best route runner, and that's Ricky Pearsall. Now, on Wednesday, Kyle Shanahan was asked about going up against that Chiefs defense, very man heavy in the Super Bowl for that reason, because Kansas City felt that that's the way you beat the 49ers. And so, what Kyle Shanahan said about that on Wednesday was that the Kansas City Chiefs had been a 20% man team and they went up to 35% in the Super Bowl. And that's about where they are right now. So, in other words, the 49ers do expect to see more of the same as far as man coverage against Kansas City. By the way, it should be noted, Deebo Samuel was a limited participant in practice on Wednesday due to a wrist injury. Now, that big matchup, everybody's going to be talking about Kyle Shanahan against Andy Reid. It's really Kyle Shanahan against Steve Spagnuolo, the defense coordinator for Kansas City. And what Shanahan said on Wednesday about the Chiefs is that he believes they've gotten better and better each year with that defense. He said last year, Kansas City was the best defense that they played all year. Of course, that was coming in the Super Bowl. And he says he feels the same way about them this year. He says that they've got guys who have been playing together for a long time, so they're just more acclimated and more comfortable in that scheme. So definitely a big big challenge for the 49ers, for their wide receivers, their entire passing game, for Brock Purdy to analyze what they're doing and make those quick decisions on the go, and definitely on those outside guys to get open. So let's just break down the injury report. Ricky Pearsall, like I said, a full participant in practice. Jauan Jennings, hip injury, did not practice. 49ers had 4 guys who did not practice. Defensive tackle Malik Collins with the knee injury, and then the 2 kickers. Neither one of them practiced. The 2 kickers on the 53-man roster. By the way, the 49ers have 3 kickers in their building right now. 2 on the 53-man roster. Matthew Wright with the shoulder and the back injury. Jake Moody with the high ankle sprain. He's not expected to be available for a couple of weeks. And then on Tuesday, they signed Anders Carlson, a kicker who was a 6th-round pick of the Packers last year. He was cut before this season started. So if neither Wright nor Moody won't play, but if Wright isn't available, Anders Carlson will get the call up on game day. Actually, that move would have to be made by 1 p.m. on Saturday in order for him to be available to kick in the game. The guys who are limited in practice on Wednesday: Deebo Samuel with the wrist, Jordan Mason with the shoulder, the AC joint sprain, Jordan Elliott, defensive tackle with the knee, Malik Mustafa, safety with the low ankle sprain, and Darrell Luter with a pelvis injury. Obviously, Jordan Mason, a huge key in this game. And maybe that factors into Ricky Pearsall as well, because when I talked about with Jauan Jennings, Mason, if he's unable to go, like I said, probably a pain tolerance thing for him. If he's unable to go, 49ers running backs would be Patrick Taylor and Isaac Guerendo. They'd be sharing the duties. So 49ers would be looking for some new answers, some different answers on the offensive side of the ball. And as far as full participants, Ricky Pearsall, Charvarius Ward, and Demetrius Flanagan fouls. Okay, so 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs, Brock Purdy coming off a really good game going up against Patrick Mahomes, obviously not on the field together at the same time, but that's going to be the matchup. That's going to be the stat line that everybody will be comparing. And Mahomes hasn't gotten off to a great start. It seems to me, I remember saying the same thing about him last year, but through the first 5 games, by the way, the Chiefs, one of only 2 undefeated teams in the NFL, the other being the Minnesota Vikings, Patrick Mahomes, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. 49ers will be trying to get after Mahomes. Nick Bosa coming off a big game, 14 quarterback pressures against Seattle, no sacks. So 49ers want to draw a lot of attention to their belief, and I guess you could say kind of evidence that he seems to get held a lot against the Kansas City Chiefs. And so Bosa's thing is you can't really complain about it. It's part of the game. He's just trying to play through it. But certainly the 49ers want the officiating crew on Sunday to be looking at that. A lot of fans are wondering about, there are certain high-profile edge rushers who are out there that have been rumored for trades. Of course, there's Hassan Reddick, who still has not reported to the New York Jets. He's available in a trade. Some people have tossed out Max Crosby's name with the Raiders. Things aren't looking good for them. So would they be available, or would he be available in a trade? Kyle Shanahan was asked about the possibility that the 49ers could add a defensive lineman in a trade. Right now, they have Nick Bosa and they have Leonard Floyd as their edge rushers. And what he said is that they feel good about the defensive line. He said, you'd love to have 4 Pro Bowl players out there, but that's just not the reality for most teams. He said that their situation was pretty good entering the season, but it did hurt them that Yetur Gross-Matos went on IR with the knee injury, and that they expect him back before too long, at least later in the season, and that'll certainly help the team. But I think if you look at the 49ers right now, that would probably be the major area, right? I mean, when you look at the players that they've lost, Javon Hargrave being one of them, and just the injuries on that defensive line have taken its toll. So the 49ers are looking to generate more of a pass rush there. And it's kind of interesting. Kevin Givens is the leading sack guy on the 49ers right now with 3.5 sacks. Nick Bosa has 3. So they've had some injuries as far as Jordan Elliott missed the last game. Now Malik Collins is banged up. So there are issues, and they're thin at both defensive end and defensive tackle. Okay, so this game, a lot to talk about in this game. And I think maybe on my next video, I'll kind of break down the Super Bowl. I'll still a lot of conversation about where things went wrong in the Super Bowl. And I know in the immediate aftermath of that game, I came up with 10 plays or 10 sequences that impacted that game and swung the tide over to the Kansas City Chiefs. And we'll break that down on the next video or an upcoming video, but stay with us here as we continue to provide the injury updates and bring you up to date on what's going on with the San Francisco 49ers. In the meantime, please subscribe, like, comment, and feel free to comment about anything you want me to talk about or address on a future video, and I'll try to get at it. So right now, that's all I have to say. That's it for now.